What's going on, guys? Music Legend here, and today I'm going to be doing an album review of Linkin Park's 2014 release, The Hunting Party. Now this is an album I'm pretty neutral about. I don't have a lot of bad things or a lot of good things to say about it. It really stands in the middle for me. If you check out my Linkin Park discography ranking / review video I did back in October, I talk more about where this is in the middle, but this is a full review of the album. I'm not going to go track by track because there's a lot of really long songs to elaborate upon, so I'm going to try to keep it to like a general review. I also want to try to get in a review from Meteora tomorrow, so expect another review as well to wrap up Linkin Park month. Again, I'm sorry that I hadn't posted the Hunting Party review and Meteora review sooner, but the holidays and everything, I was very busy and I didn't have time to sit down and edit, and then there was a blizzard and whatnot, so I didn't really have the time to do that. I did throw together a rough Breaking Benjamin Red Cold River initial review, which I made recently. It's not the greatest video, it's not well edited, the sound's bad. I filmed it with my phone, and I apologize for that. But I am going to do a review / reaction to the music video coming out this Friday as well, so stay tuned for that. Very much looking forward to the video because it looks pretty good. So anyway, to the album. The album to me isn't really a return to form for Linkin Park, although this was supposed to be their return to form. Now, this is understandable, however, because nu metal, let's face it, is a dead genre. Rap rock and nu metal rock is not very popular. And people kind of treated it like a laughingstock back in the day, and being brutally honest, there's not a lot of good nu metal bands. And a lot of bands that came out of that era either were terrible or moved on. Linkin Park definitely moved on, and this album is still a great album instrumentally. But where it lacks on the nu metal, which it doesn't need to, it makes up for in the guitar. The guitar and bass on this album, Brad and Phoenix do fantastic on this album. The drum beats are also very infectious. Rob does a good job. One thing at first note is Joe Hahn is pretty absent on this album. This album is more of the Chester, Brad, and Phoenix Rob. And even Mike is somewhat on this album, but he's not as big. So this album has some really great songs on it, like Guilty All the Same, Rebellion, all kinds of really good heavy songs. And one thing that's very different about this album is it was the first Linkin Park album to have featurings. Now, a lot of people think One More Light was featuring Kiara on the song Heavy and Pusha T and Stormzy on the song Good Goodbye, but this album actually was. It featured Darren Malikian of System of a Down, which is one of my favorite bands, and also it featured Rakim, which is a classic rapper, Paige Hamilton, and a few other people as well, I believe. One other guy, I'm trying to think of his name, I'm not sure. And they've done stuff with Steve Aoki in the meantime, but they've done stuff with him for years. This album, for me, is really, the featurings are great on this thing, especially Rakim and Darren Malikian. Now, the song Rebellion, to me, really actually sounds like a System of a Down song. The guitar riff sounds a lot like something you'd hear on one of their albums, more like a kind of like a Toxicity or a Mesmerize riff. It's pretty good, though. The vocal delivery by Chester on this album is pretty good, although I will say his worst ever vocal song, and probably the worst Linkin Park song of all time. Well, second worst. First worst is Robot Boy, second worst is War. A lot of people really like this song for some reason. I'm just going to get it off my chest right now. War, to me, is one of their worst songs, period. I don't really understand the hype behind it. It's not a very great song. The vocals sound very screechy, and that should not be the case, especially with a vocalist like Chester, who's very talented. Now, getting back to the good stuff. Guilty All the Same featuring Rakim. Great featuring, a classic rapper, has a really good rap verse on this. Mike has some good vocals, Chester, the guitar is very powerful. It's really great. It works really well. It's a long song. A lot of the songs in this album are like 5.5, 6.5 minutes long. I like to say it's almost Metallica styling, in which most of the songs have about a 5 or so minute runtime, which Metallica is longer than that. Like I was listening to Master of Puppets the other day. That's a long album. Great album though. Expect Metallica soon. That's another thing. Anyway, but this album has great guitar, as I've continuously said. Another great example of guitar work being good on this album is A Line in the Sand, which features 2 solos in it. Solos are not the most common thing in Linkin Park's music. They definitely have guitar riffs with, you know, drums and stuff, but having a cool guitar solo like this album has, having 2 of them in A Line in the Sand and a lot of songs with really great, heavy, punchy guitar riffs, I really love the guitar work, and Brad even did a tutorial on how he did it. It's a great solo. It's one of my favorite instrumental Linkin Park songs. The instrumental alone is fantastic. The vocals are great. I like how it dabbles upon even some of the previous guitar on like Guilty All the Same and stuff. It's really good. And then songs like Final Masquerade work well. The drum beats, like it's kind of like a militaristic march kind of drum beat. It's a really good, kind of moving forward, progressive, kind of powerful song. And Chester's vocals really stand out on that song too. It almost, to me, feels kind of like a Living Things or Minutes to Midnight song, but it's on this album. There are some songs that aren't that great. Keys to the Kingdom, Wastelands. Wastelands is okay to me, actually. That's a song, another song that has some pretty decent guitar. It's actually in Guitar Hero Live completely separately, and that game has like 4 good songs in it. I don't consider Skrillex guitar, that's a little bit far, but Wastelands is okay. It's not the greatest song, it's a little bit overrated. And then I didn't really care for Keys to the Kingdom or like Mark the Graves. Like some of those songs were kind of filler-y. They weren't as good to me. I didn't really care for them as much as other stuff. But this album definitely had more good than bad. But it's, to me, in terms of the rest of their discography as a whole, it's underwhelming a little bit. But I will say the instrumentals alone really make up for a lot. As I've said, Brad and Phoenix especially are a very major part of this album, and I really like how they, instead of going back to their roots, made a really heavy, very good instrumental album, which they've always had good rock instrumentals, but this is them at their best with that. So overall, I'd have to give this album a 6. I know that sounds like a little bit low, but in relativity to all of their other albums, I think that's a pretty fair rating. Given how good their other albums are, and I think that this is definitely an above average album, as a 6 would indicate. So guys, what did you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What do you think is what's your favorite Linkin Park album? Please put it in the comments below. Feel free to comment whatever you want to. Just try to not keep it hate-filled, or try to not keep it like very anti-me. That would be very appreciated. Please give this video a like. As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and stay awesome.